Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be going over chicken care. Now, chicken care is a huge topic to cover, so today we're really just going to be going over the basics. In future videos, we will be going more in depth into the subject of caring for chickens, but basically this is just going to be an overview for today. I'm underneath the barn, and I think there's a peacock walking on it. There's a peacock walking on it, and there's chickens crowing, so we'll see how this goes. So if you haven't already subscribed, be sure to do so that you can catch my other chicken videos as well as the many animal videos that I make on this channel. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention before we get started is that if you are into chickens and really just birds in general, if you're a bird lover, be sure to subscribe to the new Bird Talk magazine that's coming out. It's going to be released this summer. I'm actually writing a column in it that's going to be just about chickens, so there I'll definitely go more in detail into caring for chickens. So definitely check that out. That way you'll get to see my column, and there'll just be tons of great information about birds in general in that magazine. I'm super excited for it. So all of that information will be linked down below in the description. Be sure to check it out. Alright, I guess the challenge is how many bird noises can we get in this video? The peacock just was talking. Now, this video is not going to be about caring for... Why are you becking me? Now, this video isn't going to be about caring for baby chicks. I did a whole separate video on that. I'll link it in the iCard or description. Usually I forget my iCards, but I'll link it in the description. So we're just going to be going over general chicken care once they're adults, basically. So let's start off first by saying real quick that chickens are extremely domesticated. They rely on humans completely for their care. So everything needs to be provided by humans. They need good quality food. They need shelter. They can't protect themselves from predators. And their care, when done right, is high maintenance. It can be high maintenance. So there's a lot that goes into caring for chickens, and it's, you know, definitely not something that I would consider super easy. It's not difficult. So what do you feed chickens? So that really depends on the type of chickens that you have, what you're doing with your chickens, all of that. So for example, if you have laying hens, they're going to need a very high quality laying hen feed. Don't pick my face. What's going on, huh? If you have chickens that are, you know, little bantams that are just pets, then you might get away with feeding them mostly scratch grains. It really depends. It really depends on the type of chickens that you have. What? You want to go play? Sit here just for a minute, okay? This is Chuck Norris. There's a whole video about him, which I'll link in the description. Now, scratch grains is a universal bird feed that you can feed to most of your ground birds, like guineas, peacocks, chickens, things like that. However, it's not enough for some flocks. So you have to think about what else your flock is getting, what they need, and all of that. So that's really important to understand what it is that you want from your chickens. You know, you're not going to treat little pet bantams the same way that you're going to treat laying hens. Now, insects are going to be a huge part of their diet. Now, they'll go around free-ranging, looking for insects, and eat a bunch of bugs, and that's where the majority of their protein would come from. However, if you live in a neighborhood or something like that, they might not have access to that, and they might not really find too many bugs when they're free ranging. The roosters are like so excited to sit here with me today. So if they're not getting enough bugs in their diet, you can definitely substitute it by getting them like mealworms, things like that, and also making sure that their food does have high protein. One of the great things about having chickens as pets is that your vegetable scraps are never going to go to waste. So all of that leftover stuff from your cutting board, from your kitchen, you can give it to your chickens, and they absolutely love it. They love vegetables and fruits and all of that. Just make sure that you don't feed them things like mushrooms, avocado, onions, garlic, things like that. Human foods that have already been cooked, you want to avoid feeding them. And of course, don't give them any meats or things like that. That's not good for them. Now, the thing to remember with chickens is that just because they will eat something doesn't mean it's good for them. Chickens will really eat anything that they have available to them, and that's not always a good thing. So, you know, make sure that the stuff you are providing to them is good. So if it's if it's fruits and vegetables that are very spoiled, probably better to just throw it away. If it's something that's starting to spoil that you don't really want to eat yourself, that's usually safe to feed to the chickens. Now, another thing to consider is the brands of food that you're using. It is hot, huh? You can tell that this chicken is hot because its mouth is open and it's panting. I'm melting too. And so you want to consider the brands that you're feeding to them, especially since a lot of times people get into chickens, go into this lifestyle because they want a more natural, healthy lifestyle. And you're not really going to accomplish that if you're feeding them low quality food. So if that is something that is a concern to you, like if you're getting the eggs from them, then you may want to consider going with like a non-GMO feed, something like that. Now, when talking about food, we also want to discuss how to feed chickens. And so one thing that you should understand about chickens is that they can be very wasteful with their food. So naturally, if a chicken was out looking for food, they would have to scratch the ground a lot in order to find food and just, dig up that leaf litter to get the bugs to run out. And so they naturally do that. That's not something that they can turn off. And that's why a lot of times you'll see feeders that have small openings for chickens so that they can't actually get their feet into it. You don't want them to be able to scratch it all around and then just end up wasting their food. That's something that is quite common that they do. And of course, you need to provide fresh, clean water to them at all times. And that's the other thing, is that because they're scratching at the ground so much, they often fill up their water with dirt. And that's another reason that you'll see waters with such small openings, as well as drippers. So this is basically to keep their water cleaner. Now, I've never used a dripper to water chickens, but I am sure that it works, just because I've seen my own chickens go up to hoses or things like that that are leaking, and they'll actually drink the water droplets off of there. So those would definitely work. What is that? You sound terrible. And clean water is really important to keeping a healthy flock. The other thing to consider too is that during hot times of the year, it is nice to have a bowl of water, something nice and open, so that the chickens can actually step into it. And so if the chickens are able to get their feet wet, it'll really help them cool down. But you don't want something too deep. It should just come up to about where their exposed legs are. So let's talk about chicken coops. Now, chickens, like I said, can't defend themselves from anything, so it is great to have a chicken coop for them. Now, there are a lot of really super cute, affordable chicken coops available now because, it has become so popular to keep chickens. But the important thing to remember is that a lot of these coops are way too small to actually keep the chickens in full time. These are just meant to house the chickens overnight. They're not big enough for chickens to actually live in, so they would need to have free range every day if you went with one of these smaller coops. Now, if you wanted to build a chicken coop that was going to be for them permanently, that they're not really going to be let out of too often, then you want to do 10 square feet per bird. So as you can tell, that's a lot bigger than most of the coops available. Letting chickens free range is incredibly important to their health and overall well-being. You're making me so nervous. You're so cute. This keeps them exercised and offers environmental enrichment so that they don't get bored. Now, chickens do easily get bored, and when they get bored, they start getting into very bad habits. These habits include actually attacking and bullying other members of their flock, as well as even starting to eat their own eggs. So you want to make sure that this doesn't happen to your flock, and that you keep them entertained and let them, go out and exercise and get that environmental enrichment that they need to have satisfied lives. Another thing about chickens is that they can be plagued by parasites, and mites can easily hide underneath their feathers, and it'll go unnoticed if you're not careful. So that's why it's recommended to actually check your birds on a regular basis, actually lift up their feathers, their wings, look through their body to make sure they don't have any external parasites. It is much easier to fix this situation if you catch it early on. And that's basically it for today's video. Like I said, I'm going to be doing more videos about this topic, so let me know in the comments down below what you would like for me to go into. And also, don't forget that I am going to be writing for Bird Talk magazine. All that information is going to be linked down below. And my articles, I think, are going to mainly focus on chickens, things like that, at least for right now. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!